Hello and welcome to a new edition of DWTV's business magazine Made in Germany, coming to you from Berlin. I'm Heather Delisle, and here's what's on the agenda. Working abroad, Germans cross the border to find employment. Working illegally, customs cracks down on companies that cheat. And working for the love of it, the philosophy of the Minor publishing house. Around this time last year, anyone predicting a boom in the engineering sector would have been laughed into a corner. Engineering? Boom? No way. The sector was one of the hardest hit by the economic crisis. Many employees were laid off or forced into part-time positions. Gosheim in western Germany is an engineering hub. Many of the people in the surrounding region were left wondering whether they would even have a job in the future. But since the beginning of the year, the industry has been swamped with orders. Many companies have had to hire more people to pick up the slack. How did that happen? That's what we went to find out in cooperation with Germany's leading financial daily Handelsblatt. At the height of the crisis, our reporter Marion Hütter visited two engineering companies in Gosheim to see how the recession was affecting business. Now, she's gone back to find out how they're dealing with the boom.
More than 30 metalworking companies are located in the small town of Gosheim in the Swabian Hills near Stuttgart. They manufacture parts for the mechanical engineering sector, so they are strongly affected by that industry's boom and bust cycle. Zetec makes precision parts. The head of the company wants to expand the business and has invested more than 2 million euros in a new plant.
We're planning to move in by December. We want to start production here in December, or next January at the latest.
A year ago, Ingo Hell was less optimistic about his company's future. The enterprise was struggling due to the recession. We visited Zetec in 2009, when things weren't going so well.
Oh, well, it was different back then.
When the crisis hit, sales volume plunged 50%.
You don't sleep well. Sometimes you wake up sweating. I wouldn't wish this situation on anyone. The whole industry is fighting for survival.
But it's going better now, isn't it?
Yes, we were really struggling back then. We survived by cutting costs and doing everything we could to attract more orders.
The recovery was faster than expected. Now they're having problems keeping up with demand.
We went from full production to a total stop. Now we're back at full steam. One of the consequences is that we're short of materials and, of course, labour. We're managing to stay on top of it with the help of temporary workers.
Just 100 meters away, things are also looking up for another company, Hermle. Some French customers are being given a tour of the plant. They're interested in purchasing milling machines.
We're going through a recovery phase at the moment. But it's impossible to say for certain whether it will last.
Half the machinery produced by Hermle is exported. The company got through the crisis without having to lay anyone off. Now the company is profiting from the recovery, particularly in China.
Asia is just as important as Europe. There are no real differences, although we think the markets in Asia and Russia are stronger. In the long term, those will be the ones that keep us going.
Hermle also struggled during the financial crisis. When we visited the company in 2009, the boss was worried.
It feels as though the world has gone on holiday. There's no mail, no visitors, nothing's happening at all.
Was the slump unnecessarily exaggerated?
Well, the slump was much more extreme than the actual underlying crisis.
Why was that?
The market overheated. That caused a meltdown. Combined with the financial market problems, pessimism was widespread, and that made the situation worse.
Back at Zetec, the employees are enjoying their annual summer party. They survived 2009, and that's cause for celebration.
Such extreme boom and bust situations are exceptional, and no one really knows whether it'll occur again or improve.
At the moment, the future looks bright. So much so that nobody seems to mind that the summer party has to be moved inside due to rain.
Well, for more on that story, you can go to the website of Germany's leading financial daily at handelsblatt.com or visit our own website at dw-world.de. What's to do if there are no jobs in the city you live in? Well, you have two choices, basically, move or commute. If you live in Europe, you can even drive to a different country for your 8 hours a day. On the border between Holland and Germany, the cross-border job business is booming. The Netherlands has a shortage of skilled workers, and Germany has too many. And most Germans will pull in much higher salaries in Holland than they would back home. Thousands of people from the Cleve region already work in Holland. Andreas Meyer is one of them. Each morning, he makes the trip across the border to bring home the bacon. Our reporter, Hagen Toba, joined him for a day.
This small sign is the only indication of the border. Every day, 10,000 Germans from the Cleves region commute to jobs in the Netherlands. Andreas Meyer is one of them. He parks his car in Lent and continues his journey to Amsterdam by train. He's been on the road since 7 in the morning. Meyer finally arrives at work 2 hours after leaving home. He earns more than 3,000 euros a month working in Amsterdam City Hall. He feels the long journey by car, local train, and intercity is well worth it.
It's much better paid than in Germany. Outside the big cities, Germany has become a low-wage country.
Most Germans commuting to the Netherlands work in Nijmegen, which is right by the border. Noteboom is one of the biggest employers here. The company makes heavy-duty trailers. Production is booming again following last year's recession. Order books are full, and the company is now short of workers. It's a great opportunity for German auto mechanics.
Somebody phoned me from the German Labor Office. I was unemployed. They asked me if I'd be interested in working in Holland.
The head of the company welcomes German workers with open arms. He could even do with more.
At the moment, we need lots of assembly line workers. There are no more Dutch available. In Germany, there are loads of unemployed mechanics looking for jobs.
Mechanics are not the only German workers in demand in the Netherlands. Joachim Kaufmann works as an employment advisor. He helps Germans seeking work in the Netherlands find positions and overcome the various pitfalls and hurdles involved in working abroad.
There are lots of things you have to get used to at the beginning. You have to do a lot of things twice. Your tax returns, for example. You have to register with the authorities in both countries for social security and child benefits too.
Kaufmann lives in the Netherlands, but his office is in Cleves in the German state of North Rhine-Westphalia. He says there's a great variety of jobs available over the border.
We've got a job finder website called Euregio Jobroboter. On the Dutch side of the North Rhine-Westphalian border region, it lists some 40,000 vacancies just waiting to be filled.
It's 5 p.m. and the end of Andreas Meyer's 8-hour working day in Amsterdam Town Hall.
Dankjewel. En jij ook. Succes.
Kijken of ik nog hoe zenuwachtig.
It will take him 2 hours to get home. He's thinking of renting a room in Amsterdam to cut down on commuting time, though he knows that would seriously cut into his savings.
For more, we're joined now by Angza Beke from the German Institute for Economic Research. Mr. Beke, have you ever considered taking a job in another country?
Yes, I did not only consider this, but I did this, in fact, in the border regions to Germany, for instance, in the Netherlands, at the Katholische Universität Brabant in Tilburg, in Brussels, and in Vienna, where I hold my first professorship.
Well, national boundaries are no longer a problem within the EU, but there are some hurdles that cross-border workers have to jump. What are they?
Yeah, what we always say is that we do not have an optimal currency area here because you have different social security systems, different tax systems, different languages, cultures, everything what you don't have in the US, which is seen as an optimum currency area.
Now, one of the primary motivating factors when looking for a job is always money. Hourly rates here in Germany average out at 30.90 euros. In the Netherlands, you'll get 31.20 an hour. And in France, the average is 32.90 euros. But in Greece, for example, you'll only get 17 euros an hour. Now, France has accused Germany of purposefully keeping wages low to reduce export costs. Is that true?
Yeah, the first thing you have to acknowledge here is that you do not have to look at gross wages, but at net wages, meaning you have to deduct non-wage labor costs, which are very high in Germany, of course. And the second thing you have to look at is at productivity progress. If you have a higher productivity, your non-wage labor costs and the costs for the firm, which is relevant for the firm, are much lower. So this is what Germany did, by the way, not too high wages, but it has increased its productivity.
Now, there's always a discussion about an across-the-board minimum wage and whether or not implementing that in Germany would make sense. What do you think?
Yeah, of course, this may pose many problems because there's no competition anymore. But one positive aspect might be that we export in goods areas like cars in a high-quality segment where the export success does not depend so much on prices. And even more, Daimler Chrysler has relocated its production scheme to the US, where German minimum wages do not matter at all.
If we look ahead to, say, 50 years from now, will it even matter what country that you work in? Are we moving towards some kind of continental labor market?
If the euro will be effective, we will have so much competition that every difference is eroded away. The second thing, the second hurdle would be the position of the unions. By now, the unions do not want the unions in the other countries to be successful in terms of high wages. There is much competition between them.
All right, Angza Beke from the German Institute for Economic Research, thank you very much for joining us. And that takes us to our question of the week. Would you go abroad for a job? Tell us. Just go to our website at dw-world.de/English/Made in Germany. Fill out our online questionnaire and you'll automatically qualify for our next drawing coming up at the end of the month. The prize is a DVD, German Family Business. We look forward to hearing from you. Well, last week we wanted to know if extreme weather conditions affected your job performance. Felicia Buzin, who works in a gym here in Germany, says the extremely hot summer has been a nice break for her. When it's that hot out, not as many people are willing to work up a sweat on the treadmill. So, Felicia, we're sending you our DVD so you have something to do with all your free time. Thanks for your input, and thanks to everyone who wrote in. Please keep it up. The construction industry here in Germany has a bad reputation. Now, don't get me wrong, there are plenty of honest companies out there, but the industry as a whole is notorious for abusing labor laws. Whether it's employing illegal workers or paying less than minimum wage, the list of abuses goes on and on. Along with the service industry, the construction sector is the branch where you're most likely to find illegal workers. There are probably around 300,000 people employed at construction sites without valid permits. Those are jobs that could be filled by tax-paying citizens. Our reporter, Manfred Minor, witnessed a raid on a construction site in Cologne.
Now we're about 500 meters away.
Cologne customs officials approach a building site where they believe illegal workers may be employed. The element of surprise is on their side. The team leader tells some of his colleagues to stay on the corner, while the others cordon off the area to prevent anyone escaping. Ingo Dünne finds some workers, but he's concerned about missing others at the convoluted construction site.
Wait, just a moment.
Keeping calm is crucial. These men are from Serbia. They tell the inspector he can find their papers elsewhere on the site. Checking papers is one of the team's primary tasks. In this case, they've had an anonymous tip-off. Either there are workers without papers, or they're being paid less than the mandatory wage of €10.80.
One of the employees appears to be here in Germany illegally, which is an offense. We come across that frequently in all sectors we check, particularly in the restaurant business. It may all look nice from the outside, but you often find illegal workers in the kitchens. I'd say we pick up 5 to 8 people every month.
Back on the construction site, there are plenty of potential hiding spots in a place like this, and nothing surprises Dünne these days. His team has been busy collecting data about the wages paid here. So what offenses have been committed exactly?
But we're talking here about the same man, one employer and 2 workers.
The inspectors discover a network of subcontractors, but that's not all.
The plot thickens. Along with the illegal worker down in the pit, we've now found a company employing 2 people here in the building without work permits.
Since many of the workers have no fixed address, small fines have to be paid on the spot. The illegal worker faces an especially harsh punishment. He's immediately arrested and then deported. There's concern that the worker could be carrying potentially dangerous nails. Ingo Dünne has to be alert at all times. Security is a priority, since a situation like this can easily escalate.
It's a really big deal for these people. They work illegally in order to get a foothold here.
Have you ever been threatened?
We've been attacked before, which is why we're equipped like this. We're out there 364 days a year and everything's fine. Then one day someone gets nasty.
And that's why Dünne carries a gun. Later, the team finds a second illegal worker. They question him to find out whether he's at least being paid the minimum wage for the construction sector.
People tend to say what you want to hear. With some, you can tell they've been told which amount to say. When we later add up the hours and work everything out, it generally turns out that they're not getting the money they should be getting. These 2 illegal workers are probably not getting minimum wage.
Over 2.5 million people working in Germany have a right to be paid the minimum wage. Ingo Dünne says enforcing that right is an uphill task. He and his inspectors are already preparing for their next raid.
Minor is a family-run publishing house based in Hamburg. Founded in 1911, it's one of those rare companies where the love of the job itself is more important than the love of money. Minor specializes in philosophy. Works by Kant, Hegel, and Spinoza are some of their best sellers. Manfred Minor is the 3rd generation to inherit the company, and with it, an undying love of books. Made in Germany went to find out more.
The History of Western Philosophy. Over 2,000 years from antiquity to the present day. This warehouse stocks every book published by Manfred Minor.
There are 250,000 books here.
Where do we come from, and what determines our fate? The eternal questions of philosophy are how Manfred Minor earns a living. His current project is a new encyclopedia that'll sell for some €300.
I'd like a sample cover before we give the final go-ahead. Is the leather a custom edition?
The new philosophical reference book was a massive undertaking, encompassing 3 volumes and 350 contributors.
From modal logic and models to modernity and the postmodern, every topic is covered.
But isn't that tough going nowadays when everyone seems to be out for instant gratification?
Well, that's not what we're about. Anyone looking for instant gratification won't find it here.
Not light reading from the sound of it.
No, this is hardcore.
Minor specializes in academic titles. His sales last year were €2 million. His company's proudest publication is its complete philosophy series. Works by Aristotle, Hegel, and Kant, no longer protected by copyright. Anyone can print the classics of European thought.
Our job is publishing the texts so they make sense in their context, with an introduction, commentary, an index, a bibliography, and so forth.
The publishing house is located in Hamburg. Some of Minor's customers are right around the corner, philosophy students at the university. But many of his titles also sell abroad, especially in Japan, where German philosophy is held in high regard. But with the number of philosophy students on the decline in Germany, is his target group not shrinking?
I'd rather sell one book at a decent price than 10 for a poor one.
Publishers and booksellers say the new bachelor's degree system in Germany is partly to blame.
The bookshops are also affected by the university reforms and the bachelor program, because students are so pressed for time. They only read what's absolutely necessary.
Students today only read Kant in bite-sized portions. But Minor doesn't rely only on students for sales. His main customers are libraries, which buy the more costly books and periodicals. Times have changed. When his grandfather, Felix Minor, founded the publishing house, philosophy was still called the queen of all sciences. The publisher will celebrate its centenary next year. As the head of a successful firm, Felix Minor mingled in illustrious company, including German presidents.
You can see Felix here at the 56th Book Fair with Theodor Heuss. Felix was a close friend of Heuss. They were at university together.
Felix Minor knew and published other luminaries, like Nobel Prize winner Albert Schweitzer. Manfred Minor learned the publishing business from his father. The family firm placed a high priority in cultivating the traditions of independent publishing.
If our main interest was trying to milk the most out of our firm and create what they call shareholder value, then content would fall by the wayside. We're profitable because we never live above our means.
The company philosophy has helped make publishing a good business for the family firm. Minor and his wife Katharina live near the Alster River. They hope one of their 2 sons will one day take over the helm.
But I can't force them if they don't want to, not without harming them and the firm.
They've realized the name Minor has a good ring to it and a long history, and it's not exactly unknown. They do enjoy that quite a bit.
The small company, specializing in the answers to the big questions of the past and present, has found its special niche in the publishing world.
The financial crisis showed us that economies have plenty of problems that need fixing. Some economists are questioning whether business as usual is the right way forward. We aim to find out. Next week, we launch our series examining new ways of doing business. Our first installment will look at a group of investors who are promoting small, sustainable organic farms. Be sure to join us for that. But that's all for this edition of Made in Germany. Thanks for watching, and tune in next week.